Hi.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this updated Assassination Rogue PvP guide for patch 8.2. Before we get started with the actual guide, I'd like you to know that I already released an Assassination Rogue PvP guide for patch 8.2 2 months ago, right before the start of Season 3. So we did not have access to the new gear or to all the essences we have today, and we had a really poor neck level, which means low level essences. Because of this, a few mistakes have found their way into my previous guide, and I intend to fix them with this new guide. Also, I read in the comments of the previous guide that some people were really disappointed about the absence of a rotation section, so that is another thing I want to do better with this guide. Now, let's get started. In this guide, we'll talk about stat priority, talents, hunter talents, azurite traits, essences, and the rotation. If you watch my previous guide, the most important changes are the stats and the essences, as well as the addition of the rotation section. I will start with start priority. The start priority in 8.2 is haste until 20 to 25%, then versatility, mastery, and critical strike. The most important stat as an assassination rogue is haste. It is your best stat as it increases your auto attack speed, your energy regeneration over time, and the tick rate of your bleeds. More auto attacks mean more damage and more poison applications. More energy means you will be able to use more spells, so you will deal more damage. And faster tick rate on your bleeds means, obviously, that you will deal more damage with your bleeds, but also that you will regenerate more energy with the passive Venomous Wounds. This passive makes it so every time your bleed effects deal damage to a poison target, you gain energy. If your bleeds tick faster, this passive will grant you more energy. Even though haste is the best stat right now, you shouldn't overstack it. The goal is to reach 20% haste, and if you have a bit more, it is okay, but in my opinion, over 25% you will waste points that you would need in other stats, namely versatility. The second best stat is versatility. Versatility gives a bit less damage per point than mastery, but it also increases the damage of auto attacks and mutilate, which mastery does not do. Also, versatility has a defensive component that will be really helpful if you can stack enough versatility, especially with the essence Conflict and Strife. And because of the new gear, we have more stats, so we can stack enough versatility for it to be useful without sacrificing too much haste. The last important detail about versatility is that it increases the damage done by your essences, such as Crucible of Flame, which is super powerful right now. That is why versatility has become the second best stat. Mastery is a flat damage increase, nothing special. It is a nice stat to have if you already have reached 20% haste and can't go for versatility. Critical strike is not a good PvP stat as critical strikes are only 50% more damage in PvP as opposed to 100% more damage in PvE, so you should avoid stacking critical strike. Ideally, all your pieces of gear will have haste and versatility until you get 20 to 25% haste, and then the remaining pieces of gear will be versatility, mastery. If you have reached the 20 to 25% haste window, then all your gems and ring engines should go to versatility. If not, get haste until you have between 20 and 25%. As for the weapon engines, I'm not sure what is best. I think Force Multiplier is the best one right now. And then for the second engine, you can choose between Quick Navigation for a bit more consistent damage, or Masterful or Versatile Navigation for a bit more burst damage. Let's move on to talents. The standard talent build I use is this one: Master Poisoner, Subterfuge, Mark to Death, Elusiveness, Internal Bleeding, Toxic Blade, and Poison Bomb. Master Poisoner is a very good talent as it increases the non-damaging effects of poisons by 20%. This makes Wound Poison become a 30% healing reduction effect and Crippling Poison become a 60% slow. We can say this is mandatory in Arena regardless of the comp you play. Elaborate Planning is a decent damage increase, but since we play with Wound Poison and not Deadly Poison, it is better to go with Master Poisoner for the healing reduction. Subterfuge is simply amazing as it allows you to silence or stun multiple targets every time you exit stealth. You will usually be able to use 3 spells during the Subterfuge window, which means you can lock down the entire enemy team in Arena. Also, you will still have access to your stealth-based abilities for 3 seconds if you get popped out of stealth by an AoE, And you will also be able to use your stealth-based abilities inside a Hunter's Flare if you proc Subterfuge before entering it. And to top it off, the other two options on there are Horrible, which leaves you with Subterfuge. Mark for Death allows you to open with Mark for Death Kidney Shot on your kill target, which is very strong. It also gives you more burst damage during your other kidney shots in a fight, since you will have access to one more Envenom. It also gives you a bit more flexibility because you can always use a finisher with 0 combo points if the situation requires it. For instance, if one of your teammates is being killed and needs help right now, you can use Mark for Death Kidney Shot to peel for him instead of waiting 2 or 3 seconds to get the combo points. Vigor is also a good talent for consistent damage, but nowadays rogues are more about dealing maximum damage in kidney shots, and for that, Mark for Death is miles better. Elusiveness is a must-have talent. Once you learn how to time it, it becomes one of the very best defensive cooldowns in the game. Having access to a 30% damage reduction ability on a 15 seconds cooldown is huge in terms of survivability. Typically, you want to use this talent right before getting stunned, for example against other rogues, if they go for you, or right before the end of a heavy hitting spell such as Great Pyro, Chaos Bolt, or Earth Shock. Using Feint every now and then to survive can be difficult for people who are completely new to rogues, so if you plan on learning the class, you may use Cheat Death while you get hold of the class, but do swap for Elusiveness as soon as you can and learn how to use it. It is very important. Internal Bleeding is a surprisingly good talent. The damage is really helpful in kidney shot and in a kidney shot window, and it also gives you more energy during that kidney shot window thanks to the passive Venomous Wounds we talked about earlier. Prey on the Weak can look okay on paper, but it is only 5% instead of 10 in PvP, which makes it a bit too weak compared to Internal Bleeding. Toxic Blade is also a must-have talent right now. It deals heavy nature damage and increases all other nature damage dealt by 20% in PvP, allowing for huge envenoms. The cooldown is also fairly short, so you will be able to use Kidney Shot, Toxic Blade, and Mark for Death together every 30 seconds, which is really threatening for your target. Poison Bomb is kind of a default pick. The other talents on the row are absolutely terrible for PvP, so Poison Bomb is the only one that increases your single target damage, although the proc is random. You can see this talent as a passive damage increase to your finishes. It is worth mentioning that it does not wreck crowd control such as blind or sap, so do not worry about proccing it near a blinded target. Time to talk about Honor talents. The build I usually go for is this one: Relentless, Smoke Bomb, Maneuverability, and System Shock. If you are not a human, pick Gladiator's Medallion, because as a rogue you need to have a way out of stuns. If you are a human like me, you can go Relentless almost every time because the human racial will break stuns for you. There are exceptions. For example, I do pick Trinket against Ass and Disc because I don't want to have Relentless. Because if I have Relentless, I can get blinded into Sap with no way out, and I would leave my priest in a 2 versus 1 for way too long. But this is down to personal preference, I believe. So as a rule of thumb, if you're not a human, pick Gladiator's Medallion. If you're a human, pick Relentless. Smoke Bomb is a must-have. You basically never spec out of it or extremely rarely. It is a really good talent to set up a kill, and it can also be used defensively to protect a teammate from a Chaos Bolt or from a Greta Pyro, for example. Maneuverability gives you extra mobility. Lots of classes have powerful slows, so this is a nice way to connect a bit more if you're being kited. System Shock is a really good damage boost to your Envenom, and the 90% slow is also a good way to pin people down. When the enemy team has no slows, you want to replace maneuverability with mind-numbing poison. If you're facing a Demon Hunter in twos, a Retribution Paladin, or a Destruction Warlock, then they have no slows that can't be dispelled by your healer, so you go for mind-numbing poison for more damage. An exception to this is if you're fighting a Fire Mage in twos, it has no slows, but you want to pick DFA instead of mind-numbing poison to have an additional gap closer. You also pick mind-numbing poison against caster cleaves in threes that do not feature a Frost Mage. Against Frost Mages and Arcane Mages in twos, you can pick DFA instead of System Shock to have an additional gap closer. I also sometimes pick DFA for fun against Rogue Mage to try and immune some stuns, but this isn't really recommended. And in my opinion, the other Hunter talents of Assassination Rogue aren't really worth using at the moment. Let's now talk about Azerite traits. For the spec traits, you want 1 Shrouded Suffocation and then 3 Twist the Knife. Shrouded Suffocation adds damage to Garrote if it is used from stealth, and also makes it generate 3 combo points. You want one and only one version of the trait for the combo points. The damage part is not what's interesting here. The 3 Twist the Knife traits are here to add extra damage to your Envenom. This will increase your burst damage during your kidney shot windows. The other 2 traits aren't really important as there isn't another really good trait for Assassination, so you may pick whatever you have or like. Personally, I'd pick Double Dose or Nothing Personal to fill the 2 slots. On the ring below, the very best trait is Overwhelming Power. If you cannot have it, then Elemental Whirl is a good one as well as Earthlink. Some people also like Heed My Call, but I would advise against it because it can break CC. So if you can, try to triple stack Overwhelming Power. On the defensive ring, the best traits are Resounding Protection and Impassive Visage. If you play double DPS, then Lying in Wait is an option as it is great to help you heal when you go away to re-stealth. However, due to the recent nerfs to defensive traits, they aren't really important anymore, so do focus on spec traits first, even if your defensive traits are very bad, because this will really have little impact on your arenas. Now for the interesting part, let's have a look at essences that were added to the game with 8.2. If you have neck level 65 or higher, you have access to one major essence and its minor power, plus 2 other minor essences. Currently, there are 2 builds that work well for Assassination Rogues. The first build is Crucible of Flame as a major essence, and Memory of Lucid Dreams and Conflict and Strife as minor essences. You should use this build almost all the time. Crucible of Flame deals impressive damage that is further amplified by versatility. Usually, you want to use it either when you are being kited and want to keep the pressure up, or when you are making a serious go on your kill target. On this rogue, I've hit people with it for over 60k with crits, so I do recommend it. The minor power is a passive damage increase, which is nice. Memory of Lucid Dreams is very strong as a minor for rogues, as it helps a lot with energy. Usually, over an entire fight, it regenerates 20% of what Venomous Wounds do for me, which is a lot. If you use it, you should notice that you struggle a lot less with energy. And it also has a healing component that is nice and gives some versatility. Conflict and Strife minor power grants versatility too. As I said earlier, versatility has become the second best stat, so it is really good to have more of it. Conflict and Strife buff can have a really good uptime, so it is almost a permanent increase to your versatility. And do not forget that the more versatility you have, the harder Crucible of Flame will hit. The second build is Conflict and Strife as a major essence, and Memory of Lucid Dreams and Crucible of Flame as minor essences. You should use this build when you're going to be the kill target of a comp with stuns, such as Rogue Mage in 2s. Conflict and Strife as a major will double the damage reduction bonus of versatility when you are in a stun, making you a lot more tanky if you have a lot of versatility. Lucid Dreams will help you with energy, as I mentioned earlier, but is also a good defensive option as it has healing and has a versatility proc. This versatility proc synergizes very well with Conflict and Strife if you get stunned. Crucible of Flame is here because it deals a bit of damage and is one of the best minor essences, and since there isn't really another defensive option, we pick Crucible of Flame here. Remember that when you play Conflict and Strife as a major, you will gain maneuverability as a Honor Talent by default, so do not forget to go in your Talent panel to pick another Honor Talent. So these 2 builds are the most used currently and the most efficient ones. I do have ideas about a fun build that would involve Vision of Perfection as a major alongside 3 Nothing Personal against teams with a Poison Dispel, such as a Rogue Priest in 2s if you've ended up a Priest. I do believe it would be viable and fun, but a lot less strong than the 2 builds I presented in this guide. And I couldn't really test it out because I do not own 3 Nothing Personal on my Azerite pieces. So well, this is only a guess for now, and anyways, I do not believe this would be the competitive build. The last part of this guide is the rotation. In this section, I will talk about the opener, the burst rotation, and the normal rotation. First, the opener. There are several ways to open. The usual way is sap on someone, mark for death on the kill target, kidney shot, garrote to get 3 combo points, toxic blade to get 1 or 2, rupture, and then mutilate until 4 or 5 combo points, and envenom, and you repeat that. If you plan on using your burst in the opener, just do Vendetta right before the toxic blade, and aside from that, the rotation is not changed. Then you keep doing mutilate to gain combo points, you spend them with envenom, and you use Crucible of Flame when you're out of energy. If you open on a healer in 2s, you want to sap the DPS and not kidney right away, but kidney when the sap ends, so the enemy healer will not be able to dispel a Seer or a Hammer of Justice or something else on his DPS. So in that scenario, you do sap the DPS, do Garrote on the healer, mutilate, rupture, mutilate to 5 combo points, you wait for the end of the sap, use kidney shot when the sap ends, so your healer can use his CC on the enemy DPS, then Toxic Blade, and again mutilate to 4 or 5 combo points, and Envenom to spend the combo points. Again, if you want to burst the healer in the opener, use Vendetta right before you use right before you use Toxic Blade. Another kind of opener is when you want to go healer, but it's a Resto Druid, so he's in stealth and you can't open on him. Then you will do Cheap Shot into Garrote on the DPS if it's a melee DPS, and Garrote, Cheap Shot into Garrote if it's a melee, and Garrote into Cheap Shot if it's a caster. Then you will use Rupture, and as soon as the Druid is out, you Shadow Step, Mark for Death, and Kidney Shot him, and you go for him. If you want, and if he's in range, you can also blind him before doing that to get his trinket, and then you do that, and if he does not trinket, you vanish, you sap him, and you do damage on his DPS, and after the sap, then you go mark for death kidney shot on him, so he cannot heal his teammate. Now, the burst rotation. So I already talked about using Vendetta in the opener, so now we'll see how to use Vendetta later in the game. When you know you want to use Vendetta on a target, you should make sure your bleeds are up with enough time, as you do not want to spend your combo points on Rupture during your Vendetta, but you want to spend them on Envenom. When you're sure your bleeds are up for enough time, you want to get 5 combo points, have Toxic Blade and Mark for Death ready, and have some energy in store. When you have all that, you go for Kidney Shot, Vendetta, Toxic Blade, Mutilate to 5 combo points, Envenom, Mark for Death, Envenom, and then you spam Mutilate to get combo points and use Envenom to spend them. You may use Crucible of Flame at the end of the Kidney Shot for more damage, or simply after the first time you have used up all your energy. If the enemy is really close to death and is a healer, you can also use Vanish to cheap shot him after the kidney shot for 2 more seconds of stun, and then use Garrote for 3 seconds of silence. Kidney shot plus cheap shot plus Garrote are 11 seconds of CC, and a lot of healers will die to that if you have Vendetta up on them. And finally, the normal rotation. The most important thing to do is to keep both your bleeds up on the target you are attacking. You can refresh them when less than 30% of the original duration remain. If you refresh above that, you are wasting damage. When your dots are safe, you just use Mutilate to get combo points that you spend with Envenom. When you see that Kidney Shot is coming back off cooldown, you want to save a bit of energy, so when it is ready, you do Kidney Shot, Toxic Blade, Mutilate to 5 combo points, and Envenom, and then you repeat. If you have Mark for Death ready, you should use it during the Kidney Shot to add another Envenom. Be sure to save energy before you use your Kidney Shot on a target, because if you use Kidney Shot on someone and have no energy, and all you can do during the Kidney Shot is using 2 Mutilates, you're never going to kill anyone. And that's it for this updated guide. Please remember that feedback is a great way to help me improve my videos, so do not hesitate to comment the videos to tell me what you liked, what you disliked, or what you would have liked to see. And well, if you liked, subscribe, it makes me happy. And also, I will probably start playing Survival Hunter, so if you want to see a couple Survival Hunter games, please let me know. Have a great day and see you next time.
Goodbye.